And we are live. Thank you very much for joining me today, Niko. Before I actually start off this podcast, right, I need to ask you, how do you pronounce your surname? Because I'm going to be recording an intro, and I'm like, here's Niko.
Yeah, Wyczyński.
Vichinsky. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was practicing it yesterday, and I was like, I'm not even going to ask. I'm not going to bother embarrassing myself. I'm going to just ask you first off. Um,
Thank you for having me, man.
no
First
problem.
podcast ever.
Nope. Yeah, no problem at all. It's a pleasure to have you on and a pleasure to have you on for your first one. I mean, look, you've had a phenomenal season, and anytime you see somebody have a season like you had, like right, two pro cards in one season, you won pretty much every show you did. Gotta hear from the horse's mouth itself. So, Nico, what kind of got you into bodybuilding in the first place?
Great question. What got me into bodybuilding? What got me into the gym? I suppose I would even now say I'm not a bodybuilder, and that's something I've always said before as well. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not really a bodybuilder. Yeah, I lock in for prep and I live the bodybuilding lifestyle for prep. But outside of that, I very much enjoy just being a normal person, going to the gym, not obsessing over the tiniest of details, and living life. And I said this to people that ask me the whole time as well, like, why bodybuilding, why this, why that, and like at the end of the day, I'm not a bodybuilder. As much as I enjoyed the process of you could say physique development, I very much enjoy that flexibility and that lifestyle, which I think sometimes can be taken away from bodybuilding itself. But to answer your question, what got me into bodybuilding? I wouldn't say anything in particular that got me into it. I obviously started training the gym when I was 15, 16. Um, just casually going to the gym, enjoying training and so on. As the time went on, obviously, seeing my physique develop. Further down the line, I want to take it to the next level. I started working with a coach. And it was more so a case of, okay, let's see how much further I can improve my physique with a bodybuilding competition at the back of my mind somewhere, but it wasn't always at the forefront. And then I think I kind of obviously got into social media and stuff as well, and seen that bodybuilding is actually a thing, especially natural bodybuilding. And then when I felt the time was right to step on stage, I just kind of bit the bullet and went for it.
I think what you kind of said at the very start before you went into what got you into bodybuilding, it does resonate with me a lot too. I think I say I'm a bodybuilder because I need to like form some type of identity online just to distinguish myself, right? But I'd be very much in the same camp that like I wouldn't I wouldn't say I'm a true and true bodybuilder like other people are. Like you see like obviously AJ Morris or something like that. Like he's a bodybuilder, right? But I think about myself, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not of that like obsessive tendencies. Bodybuilding is everything to me. Like I have definitely other areas of my life where I like to enjoy too. I love my flexibility. Would you say that's something that holds maybe younger bodybuilders, people who are getting into sport early on? Would you say that's something that could hold them back in regards to their mindset being a little bit too closed off and too dead set on just being all about bodybuilding?
Yeah, you know what? It's I think it's something I see more and more on social media now. It's these especially younger guys lifting for a year or 2 years maybe, and seeing, like, don't get me wrong, it's great to see bodybuilding growing. It's becoming more and more popular, especially natural bodybuilding as well. But I've seen it a lot over the last year. I think maybe this year now, especially since I've been into the bodybuilding side of things that little bit more. A lot of these guys are seeing other guys on social media, and they, I think, put crazy expectations on themselves that you almost have to live this bodybuilder lifestyle in order to make progress in the gym. And it's like they don't know any other way of how
Mm.
to maybe, let's say, build their physique. Yeah. And with that being said, like, I think a lot of the times, yeah, younger guys now, especially coming into the sport, even with that, putting a lot of pressure on themselves, and that's something I once again seen this year. Crazy high expectations, and like, you've been lifting in the gym for a year or two, and now you're going on about how you're, that typical bodybuilder vocab, you're coming for it all. They won't know
Achieve the
what.
world.
Yeah, champ mentality, all that stuff, and it's like it's. I think it takes out the enjoyment out of it. Like when I first started going to the gym, it was literally going in and maxing out on the bench with the lads after school, and then even at that, it was more so a case of still enjoying myself, the training, like learning through trial and error, watching YouTube videos, seeing how these other guys train, seeing what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And I think it's like, yeah, everyone's almost rushing to get to the stage. You're rushing to do a bodybuilding competition, and everybody wants to do it now because it's becoming so popular. And I don't think this actually spend enough time on, as cliche as it sounds, like enjoying the process and actually bodybuilding. Like at the end of the day, yeah, we kind of are bodybuilders because we're all building our physiques, sculpting our physiques, right?
Mhm.
But I think, yeah, I think that would possibly, to answer your question, I think that would draw back some of the younger guys now, um, uh, from that like bodybuilding aspect of things as well.
Yeah, I think there's more extrinsic motivation that goes into why people are getting to bodybuilding these days. Like they want the pro card, they want maybe the followers or the social media attention, they want, I don't know, fucking protein sponsorship or whatever it may be that they think comes from doing bodybuilding shows. And there's a lot that, like, I don't think extrinsic motivation is enough to carry you through an entire prep, as you probably notice yourself. By the time you get to those final few weeks and you really have to dig hard, and you don't really have an option but to just keep your foot to the floor, like extrinsic motivation is just not going to get you through that, because like typically it's when you have the pressure on you and you have those testing times that like your inner desire to actually do bodybuilding really kind of starts to shine. And I think similar to yourself, I said for years I was never going to do bodybuilding. I said for years I was never going to get on stage. Not for me. Don't like the idea of getting tan and being up on stage in the tongue. That's why I kind of went into powerlifting. Because I like the process oriented aspect of powerlifting. Right, it's you can do competitions multiple times a year. You never really have to do anything too drastic to get yourself prepped and to compete on the platform. Whereas bodybuilding's very very different. But it did come eventually that I did want to come to bodybuilding. It just had nothing to do with clout or anything like that. It was just like I had something inside me. It was like I want to do this, and there
Mm-hmm.
was no like I want to do it for extrinsic reward. Whereas again, I think yeah, I'm definitely seeing the same as you. Like I do see that probably just because bodybuilding is more in the limelight now and it's more on social media, it's more prevalent. It seems more attainable to get a pro card. It seems more attainable to get a sponsorship, or it seems more attainable to have your social media profile blow up and become a mega successful bodybuilding influencer, something like that. I'm glad that that wasn't around, because I definitely would say that I probably would have come into bodybuilding early on myself with some poor mentality or some poor motivations. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when you got into the gym, like what age would you have been?
I think I remember going to the gym for the first time when I was 15 with my dad. My dad was always into the gym. I remember he used to have, those, like, used to be buckets of protein. I'm not sure if they have them.
Oh
Like
yeah,
there
a
used to
massive
always be
workbook.
like a massive bucket of protein. And my dad kind of got me into the gym the first couple of training sessions. I was training with him. He had a big meathead of a friend as well that I got a plan of down the line, and I just kind of followed that. It was, looking back at it now, it was probably the worst plan of all times. It was like just four sets on absolutely
Mhm.
everything,
Yeah.
high reps, low reps, just a mix of everything. But it worked. I mean, it worked. I got enjoyment out of it, and that's how I got into it, I suppose. And then the more and more I did it, I started learning my own stuff, started doing more research, and started getting more and more into it. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. Yeah, I was always into sports. I did, Jesus, probably every sport under the sun. I dabbled in, like, obviously Gaelic football here, soccer, a little bit of basketball, a little bit of hurling, a little bit of Thai boxing. And then as things picked up, everything kind of went to the side, and the gym was something that stayed there forever since then.
Mm. So you did a lot of martial arts. It sounds like
Yeah,
you know
well, Marshall, I did it for
combat
probably
sport.
a year, yeah. That's being so, I was doing a lot at the time. It was that, soccer, football, and then everything kind of started taking the back seat. Then it was gym, soccer, football. Then it was gym and Gaelic football, and it just ended up being just gym then.
Yeah, yeah. I think that happens, man. Just as you get older and you're unable to commit to team sports, but you're able to just continue to commit to your own type of training, you know? Um, and then I guess like following on from doing team sports, because I was going to ask you about your kind of sporting background, because I do think I do think a lot of people get into bodybuilding, like kind of have that kind of similar kind of arc, right? They do a lot of sports when younger, can't commit to sports anymore, and start doing their own ones. Was there anything that like you kind of learned from doing lots of sports when younger that kind of carried you over to bodybuilding, like as you started to get more involved in the gym?
Great question. I'm glad you asked that. I loved team sports. Don't get me wrong, they're fantastic. I think everyone should do a team sport at some stage in their life. You learn so much about teamwork and stuff like that. But I remember getting to a point. I'm quite competitive. I always have a pretty high standards set for myself. Anything that I do, I pour 100% into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was frustrating, like turning up to a match or turning up to training and you giving it your all, but let's say other teammates slacking. And what's cool about the gym is that it's all on you, right? You go to the gym, you put in the work. It's all very much down to you. Same if you're in a prepper environment, you do your cardio, you eat your food. If you don't, then it'll show on stage and it'll be like pretty much down to you, you know? So I think what's the cool thing about going to the gym is that it's very much you're in control of everything, right? As I said, if you whatever binge on prep or don't do your cardio, it's gonna show when you step on stage when you're gonna be out of condition. You skip your gym workout, it's like a direct reflection of the work that you put in. You put in 60%, you get a 60% physique. And I think that's the cool thing about it. Like whatever you put in, you get exactly that out. And that's what kind of drew me closer and closer to it because I didn't kind of have to would you say like almost like work for everyone on the team. And it's just like me working for myself, on myself, for myself, really.
there's less there's less chance involved. Like there's less hoping because like with team sports, you could work as hard as you want, but again, as I said, because like it's depending the other players on the team or who turns up on that day and how good they are. There's less control over the outcome of the team, right? Whereas with bodybuilding, there's so much control. Like as you said there, your nutrition, your training, you show up every day, give those your best effort. You can know by the time you get on stage or like you get down of diet, you get down of the game phase, you've done everything that you can, and whatever anybody else does doesn't really have any kind of bearing on it. And like that, again, it's just like it's one of the things that separates bodybuilding from so many other sports. Like you could have terrible training sessions with your team and just get lucky on the day of a match. The other team doesn't perform.
Yeah,
Whereas like the
100%.
bodybuilding is completely different.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And yeah, I think that's what drew me to it a lot. It's all down to you. Literally, nothing else. It's everything is in your control.
Yeah, and of course, good coach and a good support system around you.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure.
Also important for sure. One question I want to ask as well, just while we're on the origin stories, who were your kind of initial kind of inspirations? Because I think anytime somebody goes with natural bodybuilding and kind of stays in natural bodybuilding, I'm always curious on this one because it's not the most common path all the same. Just to stay natty.
Yeah. Um, Great. I wouldn't say I had like a natural inspiration. Like back when I started gymming, there wasn't the people I was following on Instagram back in the day. I remember it was the likes of Ross Dickerson, Matt August, who I'm actually pretty sure is natural, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I didn't have a clue that there was like I wouldn't be able to tell if I back then if I went on Instagram who's natural, who's not, you
yeah.
know. The guys I was following was very much like Ross Dickerson, Matt August, Yoki Lavado, the OG Gymshark crew, Steve Cook, the likes of Joe Delaney, Rob Lipsett, and so on. But in terms of natural bodybuilding, I wouldn't say I kind of look up to anyone, or looked up to anyone, even don't look up to anyone at the moment too.
Mhm.
Um, what pushed me to stay down the natural route? I can see, like, without sounding cocky or anything, I know that I have a good physique, a good natural physique, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, I said I'm not a bodybuilder, and I also don't want to be a big blocky bodybuilder. I'm more than happy that I am with my physique at the moment, and I also know that I still have another 5 years at least of like good lifting and training before I could reach my natural potential. And I think that's, once again, it's very cliche about enjoying the process and like the whole idea of delayed gratification, but that's the enjoyable part. Like, obviously, when you are taking gear, you go onto that side of things, it does speed things up a little bit. But I think for me, like, the slow and steady process of seeing the minute changes that, yeah, on a month, even on a monthly basis, don't add up. But let's say you look back at a year down the line, if I was comparing my physique from a year down the line, you might have noticed much progress, but you look at those pictures then, you're like, whoa, okay, nice, let's keep this going. I'm going in the right direction. So for me, it's like, it's to stay natural. It's a no-brainer, and I personally, my own opinion, like, unless you have the genetics and potential, and you're starting young, and you want to pursue competitive bodybuilding down the line, like, yeah, absolutely. But I think people largely underestimate what's actually achievable naturally now too. And once again, I think it's largely due to social media. You see all these young freaks popping up on social media looking way better than advanced lifter, and it's like everyone wants to rush to that physique, get to that destination and as quick as possible, where I just find the whole slow and steady process the most enjoyable part of it all.
Yeah, it is a kind of I can imagine it's a tough one for younger people, right? Because like it's something I have thought more about recently because I've had more people kind of ask me if I'm gonna be if I would kind of go on the sauce, and I'll say, oh, well, I'm happy with my physique right now. I don't see how like being bigger would make me any happier. I wouldn't be willing to also kind of take on the risks or other things that come on with going on sauce, right? The extra cost of gear, health supplements, the legalities around it. Like, we fucking hassle trying to source illegal drugs all the time.
Yeah,
And extra blood tests, all this kind of stuff. And I guess like I can see why people who are not happy with their physique and haven't got that like mindset or that experience with having enjoyment around how they look, how they can become a little bit more enthused to go on it. If you get me, especially since it is so prevalent, and as well the whole natty or not debate, that's always
yeah,
going on, and
yeah,
people just most of the time don't believe if somebody's in good shape. They and
yeah.
that kind of stuff. Have you had any natty or not accusations yet?
Yeah, a good few times. Well, like, everyone always constantly asks me if I am really natural. Like, at the end of the day, when I'm not lean, like you, I look like I don't go to the gym,
Yeah.
pretty much. When I'm wearing normal oversized clothes, you wouldn't say I go to the gym, and it's only when I diet down, or when I tense my tricep, people are like, yeah, he's not natural.
Yeah, so it's around the kind of the stay natural, and I guess like having that more kind of mindset around the delaying gratification, because it ultimately is like it's a long term game. As you said there, you probably have, well, you probably don't have it. You probably have more than 5 years in terms of like growing ahead of you, right? Because how old are you?
How old am I? Turning 25 next month.
Yeah, like you can still get better into like your mid 30s for sure, and I guess by the time you get to that point, kind of an extra 10 years of wisdom, like for in our mid 30s, surely we're gonna have as
Yeah,
much kind of muscle mass realistically as we'll ever need for our life. And the beauty of it as well is like when you're natural, you don't need to downsize. Yeah,
yeah,
you're never
yeah.
gonna get so big that you're gonna have to be like, I have to cut down on muscle mass. I have to benefit my health. Whereas like the guys on the other side of the tracks are ultimately going to have to come to that crossroads themselves.
That's it. And as I said, like, I'm more than happy with my physique, and I know that if even if I put on a couple of extra kgs of muscle over the next couple of years, Like I'll be still happy, still fine with my physique. I don't want to be a big blocky bodybuilder at the end of the day. I'm more than happy with my physique at the moment, and I just know if I keep chipping away at it, like I can definitely improve it, and that's the fun part. I'm in no rush. Like I enjoy going to the gym, exercising, eating correctly, and while having a cool balanced lifestyle too. And that's the fun part for me.
Yeah, being able to incorporate it alongside your lifestyle is incredibly important as well from the natural point of view. Like in my opinion, because like most natural bodybuilders, they're gonna get better as they age. Right, you see a lot of people having success in their late 30s, 40s, even to the 50s. Right,
Mhm.
there's no way you could do that if you're going whole scorched shirt on it all the time, right? And that's typically the approach from the other side of the tracks, because there's a certain amount of time that you could realistically kind of stay on that stuff before it becomes very bad for your health, or just the risk increases a lot. Whereas I also think if you're going to do something for like 15, 20 years, you want to be something that you can incorporate alongside like everything else in life, because there's more, as we kind of discussed at the very start of the podcast, right? There's more to life than bodybuilding. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that's something that people who get into it need to be able to have a kind of healthy relationship with their body, with their bodybuilding, as well as like their life side of it. Like pretty much none of my friends are into bodybuilding, right? Let's say bodybuilding is not something that they're remotely interested in. They still think that when I do bodybuilding shows, I'm like putting my bar over my head, like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think that's something that is incredibly important. I guess
Yeah.
like coming into coming into prep, like how do you, before you go into prep, do you have to have any conversations with people around you to say, hey, there might be some changes kind of leading up to this, and maybe kind of change like within your life and your how you kind of manage social occasions, um, on the front end? Because now for some people, if they don't have bodybuilders in their life, that might be a bit of a kind of hard topic in regards to the changes that are going to come into effect.
Yeah. That always is a tough one, and it's going to be a tough one, isn't it? I suppose I did have a conversation with the people closest to me, my parents and my girlfriend. My parents kind of knew what to expect, because I obviously prepped 2 years ago as well. But at the end of the day, like new levels of conditioning come with new challenges, new struggles, and so on. And everything else comes with experience. Like I knew myself what to expect as well. Um, from my first bodybuilding show, my first competitive season. I knew the struggles I was going to face to an extent, and I knew kind of what I had to do, whether that's explaining to the people around me what's going to happen, making it clear with them, how I'm going to feel, and so on, and making sure I'm able to control my emotions and so on. In terms of like having conversations, yeah, my parents, my girlfriend, now she's into the gym as well, so she's very understanding. She did a prep before herself, so she kind of knew what to expect there as well. So that helped a ton, and I think that massively does help. That being said, like I don't think anyone can truly understand, no matter how much you explain to them, how much in advance you're going to tell them of what you're going through. They won't know unless they go through it themselves, right?
Mm.
Because I'm still struggling to find the words even now to describe how I'm feeling post prep and before prep. Would say I'm still pretty brain dead at the moment. And I think no matter how much you try to explain to the people around you of what you're going to get through, they simply won't understand until they go through something themselves, which
Yeah,
99.9% of the time they won't do that sort of thing, you know?
yeah. It is. I understand what you mean, because it is very difficult to put into words what it does feel like, because when you do get like two levels of conditioning like you did, your brain is just not working like near to optimal levels of function, and you're not yourself. All you really think about at that point in time is yourself, like realistically, that's just how it is. You're
Yeah.
just thinking about your next meal. You're thinking about how low energy you are, and it's almost like you have blinkers on to like the rest of the world, and that can be very difficult because it's not something you're just dealing with for like a day. It could be something you're dealing with for like a couple of weeks, and say for example, my missus Emma was on prep this year, and I could definitely see that in her, right? But having been through it myself, I knew exactly when to press her on something, but also when to just shut my mouth and not
Yeah.
say anything. Um, but for other people, it can just come off. It can come off like as rude. So, say for example, if you're out and about and you're not with your friends, your family. Somebody asks you to do something like that, or you're at a family event or something like that, you could just be could see very closed off, or just as if you're being rude to people, not giving them time of day, and you don't notice it yourself.
Yeah.
You can't. Because again, all you're thinking about is, I'm kind of hungry right now. How long is it to my next meal?
Yeah, and I guess that's the prep bubble that sucks you in. And now that I'm like reversing out of the show and slowly getting back to normal functioning, I'm like digesting everything slowly, like every single day, like what I've just gone through, what I put my body through, how I behaved, and kind of slowly dissecting everything that's happened, and like how you can get so easily consumed by this bodybuilding bubble, like so quickly sucked in, chewed, and spat back out. Like spat back out. I'm saying that because now I feel like obviously post prep is 100% more difficult than prep itself, in my opinion. But it consumes you, like, and I got ridiculously consumed by it this year. I would say I have pretty bad OCD as
Mm.
it is, and then prep just drove that through the roof. That being said, as well, I probably didn't help myself either. Like this, don't get me wrong, it was the most difficult prep because I got to levels of conditioning I haven't got into before in my life. Like when people say they're shredded out of their mind, like I fully believe I lost my mind towards the back end of prep as well. Um, but yeah, I probably didn't make the situation better for myself with the whole OCD thing. Like I got someone asking me the other day, like what's the secret to winning a pro card, or what did you change differently in this prep compared to your first prep?
Mm.
Um, after coming back, I think we were in Marbella around June, and then we came back, and I was like 8 weeks out to my first show. Had a little bit of flexibility there in Marbella. Obviously, we were there for like a month, but it was still very much training, working, and so on. And after we came back to Ireland, it was like tunnel vision. I ate exactly everything that was on my meal plan. Okay, like I didn't skew off the plan, derail ever so
Mhm.
slightest. Everything was weighed out to a gram, not under, not over. Everything
Oh
was
yeah.
on the button. And it kind of snowballed, got worse from there. There was no meals where I couldn't eat without watching, obviously, a prep YouTube video or something like that. I went full optimal bodybuilder bro mode towards the last towards the final stretch of prep, like the 8 week out mark. As I said, once we came back to Ireland, it was like I was doing everything to be the most optimal, the best, and like maybe like, and then when people said like, do you think that's what got you, like the fact that you were so on the ball with weighing out your food, like everything weighed out to a T, water measured out to the milliliter. I think that caused a lot of stress too, because this has been by far the most stressful prep
Mm.
I've ever done. I've probably shaved years off my life from the stress that I experienced this prep. I don't know if you can measure cortisol levels, but if you could, I know mine would be off the scales. And it was especially like towards probably the back end, the last final 4 weeks as well. I personally find peak week very stressful. You have to be so on the ball with everything in that, and meal timings and so on. And that whole thing was just
Yeah.
causing me so much stress, to the point where like we had to push back refeed days because like I could feel the cortisol belly coming on and not being able to digest food. And if anything was skewed out of my day, out of my routine, I would get so bogged up over it, and it's like my whole day would get ruined and everything would fall apart. And if like there's so much I could talk about here, like with that, like how the whole OCD thing got impacted massively as well. And people say, like, oh yeah, maybe that's really good because everything was weighed out perfectly, but at the same time, it caused me so much stress. Like
Mm.
when they said, was it really worth it? I can't really answer that question. Was that the thing that won me the pro card because
Did,
my rice was measured to the gram, because my fruit was measured to the gram, and so on.
did
So yeah.
did you find that because you mentioned this prep is harder. Did you find that maybe because you had done really well in your last season too, that you maybe had a bit more pressure behind you for this one? Did that kind of lead into it or anything?
Great question. Yeah, pressure standpoint, there was, I would like to think there was a lot of pressure from everyone really. Like social media, especially too. Like my social media grew a little bit since the last time I prepped. I had a lot of people cheering me on. Like the PCA show that I was supposed to do in Derry that I didn't end up doing because of the food poisoning and so on. I remember like where I wanted to just shut off my phone for the weekend, and I remember turning it on Sunday morning after the not stepping on stage, and I had like 140 messages across
God.
WhatsApp and Instagram, like people just saying best of luck, you've got this, you're gonna smash this, and stuff like that. So there was probably a little bit of pressure there too, and I think that probably led to stress levels being higher this time around as well. When I say that this prep was difficult, it's obviously because I got super lean, never been this lean before. But it was also like the smoothest prep, like the way it was managed by my coach. Like I know if it was another coach that things wouldn't be handled as well. Like cardio was pulled out for me 3 weeks before my first show, which was at the start of August, and what I finished my last show, what, 3.5 weeks ago. So I
Mm.
didn't do cardio for like what, 2 months,
Yeah,
August, September, yeah.
beautiful.
So it was managed really, really well. And for me, I was just going back to the question about pressure. There, and that's saying pressure is a privilege, by the man himself. It was cool seeing that I have that much support behind me as well, but it's a lot of the time it was overwhelming, like to the point where I just wanted to shut off my phone and disconnect. That I was honest, half of prep I was walking around with AirPods in my head with noise cancellation because I just wanted that peace and quiet, and with everything going on, like I was so overwhelmed and overstimulated, and the coaching and getting messages from clients and then people. Anytime I posted a story, I was sick of putting up stories because likes were coming through and people replying, and
Mm,
everything just getting so mentally fatiguing. As this prep has fucked me up mentally more than physically.
mm,
I'd like to say, just because of, I guess, the I, it's nice as it sounds, like the people supporting me, but like I guess you could say the pressure kind of social media, right?
mm.
Although I had no expectations for myself this season, like yeah, we there was mentions of winning a pro card, but that would have happened after the NBFI show before I think the way we wanted to go down to that route is qualify after winning NBFI and then going to do the Europeans, right,
Mm.
and getting the INBA, PNBA pro card, whatever that may be. So that's what we actually wanted to go down the initial route, and obviously it happened a little bit quicker before that. And there was people like constantly saying, "Yeah, pro card is on," but I wasn't, you could say, chasing the pro card at all.
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't like that's the only thing I'm focusing on. It was more so just, as cliche as it sounds, beating the previous version of myself and bringing a better look to stage. Um, which yeah, I think I went a little bit off track there.
Like let it all out. It's all good stuff. Because it is like these are the sides of bodybuilding that I think more people need to see. Because of course, like again, like lots we kind of started off this conversation talk about like kind of younger bodybuilders almost kind of like too kind of far into like being a bodybuilder persona, whatever like, that kind of shit is, right? Um, Whereas this is the kind of side of things where people don't see because we see the pictures of us looking great on Instagram, right? You see the pro card and like what people think of like when people have pro card, like you automatically like elevate in status as like an athlete, right? But sometimes this is shit that people go through to get them, you know.
Yeah,
And this is like sometimes the ugly side of prep, right? Because it definitely does kind of increase if you have some like more kind of OCD or neurotic tendencies, it's gonna amplify them a lot. Like if you can get a little bit snappy when you're aggravated, it's gonna
yeah,
it's gonna tighten that up a lot. If you have anxiety, if you feel pressure a lot, like when you're not starved and not stressed, it's gonna make that worse. You know,
yeah.
and I do think it's one of the benefits of if you have been involved in the listening game for a while, taking your time to get into preps. Because like, you know, if you experienced this maybe 5 years ago, you know, you probably wouldn't have been mature enough to kind of deal with it. Whereas like now obviously you are. You know, whereas again, people getting into the sport too early and kind of maybe not having a great support like you had from Tim, for example, or even like, you know, from your own Emma, then it would have been a lot harder, you know. So I think,
100%. And just to touch on there, like I could go on. I have so much to say, but we could be on here for 3 hours of me just talking about like the darker side of bodybuilding, and not to put anyone off it or anything like that. But no one does see the stupid stuff, and it's like when friends or family are asking me, or relatives, like about how I'm feeling, and even now post show I was like, oh, are you recovered? And I was like, no, I'm still pretty much brain dead. Energy levels aren't the greatest. Like it's going to take me a couple of weeks now. I can't go back to living normal life. Or even on prep, trying to explain to them how it's taking the phone out of my pocket feels like I'm moving a mountain, you know?
mm,
And
if you had started competing 5 years ago, would you have been able to handle it? You might not handle it as well now, like even though you're still struggling, you know?
yeah, no, 100% that wouldn't have happened. There's also another thing, sugar. There's something I wanted to touch on that you mentioned there, guys. I've had two guys prep with me now, this year as well. My first two prep clients, and just going over with them how doing a competition prep is no longer your typical going to the gym, lifting weights, and doing some cardio. It's a full-on extreme sport. Like you
Yeah.
don't see anyone else starting off, like I don't know what other would be an extreme sport, like motorcycle
Yeah.
racing or whatever. You
Motocross.
don't see you don't see someone doing that for a year or two and then throwing themselves into, or even riding a bike for a year or two and then throwing themselves into doing crazy backflips on a motorbike. Like I don't think people understand how this is literally an extreme sport. It's the moment you sign up for a bodybuilding prep, it's no longer just going to the gym, lifting weights, doing cardio, whatever. It's you're pushing your body to the extremes, to the limits, absolute limits.
Mm.
So seeing like people like rush into it and not taking everything into consideration, or not even having the right knowledge as to what's involved and how you're gonna feel. Like that's like what I had on a consultation call with two of the guys that said they wanted to prep, and like we went over for an hour discussing things like this is how you're going to feel, this is what you need to have a job where potentially if you do need to take a couple of weeks off towards the end, you need to be financially secure, a good support circle. There is a lot to it, a lot, as you know yourself,
Yeah.
besides just going to the gym and doing cardio, lifting weights, eating meals.
Yeah. I think for like a lot of people who are kind of interested in it, they're probably better off doing like a photo shoot prep first
Yeah.
because photo shoot prep, there's no conditioning standard, right? You get as lean as you want to or as lean as you can. You can set the date for whenever you want, so you can fit around your life. Whereas like committing to a show, like the show is immovable. It's got to be a certain date. You're gonna have to give up things that are around it, and there's a standard. Like you know, like I'm of the opinion if you're not getting up there to try at least like you know get first fucking call outs, there's no point going there. Like it's not something just to. I don't obviously hear people saying like I want to just take it like have it to take off the box, right? It's a bucket list thing. Not really the type of thing that I'd be willing
Yeah,
to do for bucket list because like as I said, there's a lot of fucking shit you put yourself through to get up there.
100%.
And nobody wants to get up there being like, I look shit relative to everybody else. you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Why would you put your body through something like that? And I don't want to say waste, but like take up what, 6, 8 months out of your of your year just to tick it off the list, like as a bucket list thing to do. It's yeah, and I think once again it's just coming from people not being educated enough on what it actually takes and what's involved in an actual bodybuilding prep.
Relative to your first one, I guess, like, obviously you mentioned that you got more conditioned this one, and that's naturally enough kind to provide some new challenges. But like, what are some like the kind of big picture differences? Like, so like, how long was your last prep relative to this one? Were you coached? Do you have were you coached for the last one? I know you have a coach now.
Yeah, I think a proper like actual prep coach makes a hell of a difference too. The first coach I work with, don't get me wrong, fantastic coach, but he was more so kind of lifestyle. He has prepped a few competitors, assisted ones. I'm sure I was his first natty client, and that prep was 16 weeks. This
Okay.
prep, um, obviously Tim specializes in getting lads peeled. He's a fantastic coach himself, obviously, and I think he's going to be one of the top coaches in the industry further down. Well, I know that he will. This prep was longer. It was 24 weeks as well, and before that there was like a pre-prep diet, a pre-prep phase, which I think helped massively too, which allowed me to kind of cruise into the show. As I said, cardio was pulled out 3 weeks before the first show, and the first show was the 31st of August, if I remember correctly, which allowed me to feed into the show as well. And once cardio was pulled, it was literally a case of drip feeding more food. That's actually crazy as well, how I wasn't really hungry or craved anything all prep. And then as soon as we put in an extra 50 calories, my body was like, what's going on here? Give me more. And it's crazy how a small difference like that, an extra 50 calories, an extra 100 calories every couple of days, my body was like, what the fuck's going on here? Do you know? But yeah, what made this prep smoother or more difficult? Obviously, the conditioning, the smoother side of things. Longer prep, I think it's especially as a natural as well. You don't want to just fly through it, end up losing a lot of muscle along the way too. And give yourself time to be ready early. I think it's the best thing you can do. Be in that position where you can afford to pull out cardio a couple of weeks from the show, and obviously feed into the show. Then it's going to bring a fresher look, less fatigued, buzzword, less fatigued physique as well. At the end of the day, present a better package on stage.
You did a pre prep, right? So, where did you start that? Because I think the last time I talked to you, maybe we were in Marbella. I think you were about 100 kilos, right?
No, I was never in 100 kilos in my life. I was the highest
Maybe
only
I'm
I've
100
pushed.
kilos.
The highest I've pushed things to was like 96, and I was the
Okay.
heaviest I've been. Um, that was probably a couple of months after my first competitive season. It was probably like March 2024. When did I do my competition? Yeah, 2024. And then I started working with Tim around that time as well. We kind of stripped things back. And ever since then, I was probably hovering around 94 kgs, around that. Um, and then stripped things back to 89 around the pre-prep phase. 89 kg. My start point for prep was 89 kg, I think, around that 89.5 kg. And that was just a case of pulling it back for 8 weeks. I'm not even driving scale weights down massively because we knew what my last stage weight was. So that kind of gave us a good gauge of what we need to get down to. So it wasn't just a case of pulling weight aggressively. And I never really get out of shape in the off season, the bulk as well. I always have a pair of visible abs, or ab lines even. So that helped massively as well. Like your starting point for prep and even for a pre-prep, if you're not out of shape, then that's going to help you massively long term too. So yeah, from 89, I think that was my starting weight on prep, and we got to the lowest was 76, which funny enough was 3 kg lighter than my previous stage weight. So the first time I competed, the lowest weight was 79. This time around, my lowest weight was 76 kg.
It's getting extra detail, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think surprises people is how light they have to get. Like I remember when I did my first prep, and I was like, ah, yeah, I'll be on stage with like 84, 85 kilos. And like, yeah, my lightest weight was like 76.
Yeah, it's so funny because we were like creeping into the 81s, 82, or even 83s, and I was like, oh yeah, nice. I only have 3 more kg to go because obviously the last time I competed was 2 years ago. I surely have more muscle now. And I was asking Tim like, oh, do you have much more to go? And he was like, yeah, probably another 5, 6 kg. I was like, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? I have definitely found since doing that myself, when coaching people, like you're able to be so like real with people, like give people a reality check. Because like somebody will say, "Oh, I think if I lose like like 10 kilos here, I'll be lean, have abs." I'm like, add an extra 10 kilos onto that, and yes,
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. I agree with you there.
it's the sad reality. We have more body fat and less muscle than we think we do.
Hmm.
So I guess like obviously this season went phenomenally. So you compete 3 times overall for the muscle contests, pro card WNBF, and then you got the overall pro card and class win with NBFI.
NBFI.
Yeah, you must have been how did I feel, man? How did you feel at the like? Let's take a show by show, right? Because like obviously PCA did not go to plan.
I think
What?
you cut out for a second, 2 secs. I think you cut out just there.
Oh god. What was the last thing you heard?
How did it feel?
Oh yeah. So
About
question was like, we'll just go through show by show. So PCA, you didn't get to make it. You got food poison.
yeah, that was
What,
a
yeah.
disaster.
What
Um,
happened there? Like,
First of all, it was a pretty long drive to Derry. I think it was like a 6.5 hour drive up to Derry.
Mhm.
Um, got into the Airbnb. Tim was already waiting at the gym for me. I only had 2 meals prepped for the road. I got it. Tim picked up a few bits for me in the shop. I came into the Airbnb, threw the bags down on the floor, cooked up a meal super, super quickly. Um, had that, chugged my pump drink, and as soon as I arrived to the gym, I felt something really, really bad, like as if I got hit with a flu or something. And then I started panicking as well. I was like, oh, am I getting sick 2 days before my show? And that elevated stress that little bit. I couldn't, we got back from the gym. I was like, look, I don't even feel like I can get a pump session here. Stomach was kind of cramped up to the point where I couldn't get my post workout meal, and appetite was gone completely. I was getting sick on the thought of food, and then it just snowballed from there. The day after, still appetite absolutely shot. The absolute worst pains in my stomach, as if someone was stabbing me in my stomach. That was horrible. Try to save the look by utilizing cyclic dextrin and jelly, easy digestible carb sources, quick, fast acting carbs. But even that, like, I was, what, 20, 24 weeks into the prep, or 20 weeks into the prep, and I got 2 packs of jellies put in front of me. As much as I wanted to eat them, I just could not. So that was horrible. Obviously, a bit disappointed because I was working so hard towards that to showcase my physique, and PCA being a cool show as well, the way they organized things. That never competed with that federation, so I was excited. Obviously, having Tim over from the UK and having a proper bodybuilders weekend with the coach coming over,
Yeah.
check-ins, staying in the Airbnb and stuff like that. So that was very disappointing. Then WNBF wasn't a planned show for me. I wasn't supposed to do it. But I sent Tim like post workout pictures 2 days after the dairy mess, and it was like surprisingly the best look of prep so far. He was like,
Extreme
yeah.
depletion.
And then we were kind of joking around hopping to WNBF, and I checked if the registration was still open. I was like, leave it with me. He was like, look, hop into this show. I think you should. Dust off the cobwebs. Don't tell anyone. There'll be no pressure from anyone.
Mm,
I won't post you or anything like that.
yeah.
Secret show, whatever. And that's exactly what we did. I went in there with no expectations. Didn't tell anyone, not even my parents. I stayed the night at Emma's house the night before the show. She did my tan. We drove up to Wexford. I also had a client competing at that show too. So all I was kind of focused on is just getting up on stage, well, to dust off the cobwebs, but also most importantly, giving my client a cool show day experience because it was
Mm.
his first show. So that's all I really cared about. There was no stress or nerves going into the show. I just wanted to go up there. Didn't know there was a pro card up for grabs at
Yeah.
all. So that was a shock. I was shocked when they said it. You could probably even tell from the recordings. My face was just like they came up to me, was like, "Oh, you want a pro card?" And I was like, "Oh, all right." And
Yeah.
then I obviously went backstage, got the pictures, but I just wanted to. I knew my client was on the in the next category then as well. He did two classes, so I just kind of, yeah, whatever, and I went back down to him. But even on the way home, it didn't sink in. And I don't think any of this has sunk in yet at all. The season that I have had, um, because we just push things so hard with prep, like with the condition standpoint, that I haven't truly digested everything that's been going on. Like my mind is still very much all over the place, and they were 3 weeks after my final show, so I can't even tell you how it felt, or I don't think I fully digested everything properly yet. It was cool, obviously, but as I said, it was never about the pro cards or the medals for me, and I keep saying this to like people around me. It was literally about pushing myself to the limit, seeing what I can achieve and what happens when I bring the best version of myself. The rest is just the icing on the cake or the cherry on top, as they say.
Yeah. That's one thing that's got to ask you there is like, obviously when you're not outward chasing it, like you're not like writing down your goals at the start of the season. I want to win all the pro cards that I can win, and it's not an expectation. As I said, you just want to come in and beat your best. That, I guess, I can't imagine the winning the card or getting the card would feel as elating as if you had just poured everything into getting it. If you get me,
Yeah,
because like if your process oriented, it's like, okay, cool, I have the card, but I'm still going to continue competing. I'm still going to continue doing shows. Like I'm still going to continue getting better. It's just an acknowledgement. It's like you are one of the best bodybuilders in the country. That's kind of like what the card says. You can join the elite level of bodybuilders now and kind of compete against them. That's kind of what it is. It's not that it changes everything for you. You're not going to have like a chauffeur turns up to your house and drives you to the gym now for the rest
yeah.
of the time.
I like the way you put that there. It's kind of like an acknowledgement, yeah. And there, the way you talk about, once again, very cliche saying about enjoying the process. As grueling as it sounds, that's the difficult days were almost the most enjoyable, seeing how far you can push yourself mentally. I personally enjoy the prep itself more so than, as I said, I'm very stressed around peak week. Even the show day itself, like, still a bit stressed, and the adrenaline, the nerves, everything rushing. I wouldn't be the biggest fan of like the show day itself, and even like peak week. It's the first initial couple of weeks leading up to the show that I found the most enjoyable, like the process, as they call it, right?
Mm.
I know a lot of people like do it all because they're so excited for peak week, and doing all these full day of eating on peak weeks. Here's what I'm eating, carving up whatever, the rice cakes, the jam, and so on. I very much just enjoy the actual process, getting shredded to the days leading up to the gym or to the show day.
Do you find it hard to like be present on show day and kind of soak it in for the experience of it because of
Yeah, this year, because as I said, there was a bit more pressure. I yeah, my mind was just racing nonstop. And I could tell as well from even my midsection, I would say before, my abs have been a strong point in my physique. And towards the last, like, let's say 4 weeks, I could just see a layer of water being held over the midsection. I don't know if that's stress and cortisol and everything. But abs seem to just like fade away and wash away towards the very end of prep. And usually they're a really strong point for me. So first, I don't know how Tim managed to peak me when the body was through so much stress as well. So fair play to him.
mm,
But yeah, in terms of enjoying show day with not being quite present, the only time I was probably present on the show day this year was at NBFI, the last show. I kind of knew this is my last show of the season, and even there, all I did was, for the first time ever, put in headphones and actually put on music in my headphones and just kind of laid down. I went for a nap, and then it's like kind of I felt like the stress absolutely melting off me, and that was the first time I was a little bit present, and that was before the classic category at NBFI.
I think it's understandable why it would be hard to switch off on a day like that because again we get so used to our routine during a prep and so used to almost being like hermits to a degree, and then you're surrounded by everybody. Everyone wants to kind of talk to you as well. Everyone wants to catch up, and then of course you have the fact that you need to get out on stage. You know that can be quite a challenge. I found it when I was competing. I found it very very difficult to sit still. Like I couldn't sit still on a show day. Like I found it very even the day prior. Like when you're meant to be like staying off your legs. I remember the day before WNBF Worlds, I did like 22,000 steps.
Jesus.
It was just like I was out and about getting my hair cut, and then like now you find ways to pass the time when you're nervous because like the last thing you want
Yeah.
to do is like, think about like getting up on stage and doing the thing. Yeah,
That's exactly how I felt as well. And then it's like once again going back to, oh shit, I'm supposed to be chilling, and then your mind starts racing even
yeah,
more because like, oh, I have this much steps done, legs are gonna be inflamed on stage tomorrow, and then so on. Yeah, I think that's something I experienced myself this year as well. Just mind constantly racing and not being able to switch off because there's always something that I was worrying about, where that's the next meal, or did I weigh out my salt correctly, or whatever that may have been. Just finding it's difficult to switch off to the point where it was a mental burnout, and then trying to stay on top of your coaching business and everything else that you have going on. It was more so mentally fatiguing than anything, you know?
yeah. Those the peak week is definitely yeah. I think it's just how out of routine you are and how counterculture is to everything else you've done throughout the prep is different. Like we just talked there, like the relaxing. Yeah, you've done 20 plus weeks of doing everything but relax.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have to try to do it. It's like you forget how to relax. Um,
literally.
for your actual like peak week strategy, like so, like what type of way did the Tim load? He was like front load, back load. It's just like kind of linearly increase food, or how did you go about that?
So for the initial PCA show, we were doing a backload leading into the show. Probably started it on I think Wednesday, and then increased carbs Thursday, or even actually the Thursday maybe, and then Friday, and then that was a mess. And then the next show was 4 weeks down the line. Oh no, actually, WNBF we went in with no real peak week. There was a little bit of fullness from the week prior at the PCA show. But once again, it was very much a backload, and it wasn't even like there was no peaking for the WNBF show. We just went in, kind of took it as a normal training day.
Yeah.
Muscle contest was actually, I think we front loaded me just because we were worried about me getting stressed out again. Before the show, and not having to kind of panic, run about the place, especially with driving up to Limerick the day before for registration and so on, and trying to cram in meals and stuff like that. So I think we pretty much front loaded there. And then a week later, it was NBFI. Fullness carries through like crazy. It was probably, yeah, since we loaded the physique fairly hard to muscle contest, it was a case of probably just loading, I think, Friday and Saturday, and not crazy amounts of food leading up to NBFI because fullness was kept through from muscle contest the week before that.
Mhm. All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I guess it does kind of make sense to have that kind of front load take effect if stress is something that you deal with because like a lot of times even use like the backload approach where like 1 to 2 days before the competition you're just like having food skyrocket. Like it can be a bit risky if you haven't like practiced it a lot. Like during your prep, do you do any like refeeds? Um,
yeah.
how
Refeeds were
frequent?
done. Yeah, refeeds were done probably what, like 6 weeks out. Every then probably like it was like every 2 weeks, just trialing finding the best luck. I think that's
Yeah.
what helped massively as well. Just frequent refeeds, finding the best luck, how many carbs went in, and just uh collecting data, as they say, right?
Yeah.
data collecting. And that's how we refined the look, I guess. We knew then to replicate that look. Tim obviously had lots of notes on that too. And I was actually shocked when he sent over the notes to me. It was like, okay, this much water, this much salt, and you had two coffees, and you trained this. You're a little bit fuller, but you actually looked better with a little bit less water. So yeah, I think that there just comes down to collecting data, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on obviously you, the client, and the coach as well, isn't it? Like, because like it's the coach can only go off the information that we provide, So like, obviously, you actually sending it all that over, following it to a T, of course, only kind of helps yourself because it helps him in the long run, and it goes to show that like when you do have a coach who kind of knows this stuff, how a peak can be run.
Yeah,
Versus with a
absolutely.
fist in the wind and hoping for the best.
Absolutely. Yeah, the good old Five Guys protocol. Just the Hail Marys, as they say, the day before the show. Burger and fries.
Yes,
None of that.
and cut water as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have to.
So, what would you say was your favorite show of the few that you did?
It's gonna have to be NBFI. Yeah, it's the final show of the season. Having so much support, I'm pretty sure my family got a minibus from Cork up to Dublin. They were supposed to go up just them, and they ended up getting a crew going here from Cork. There was probably like 20 people going up on the minibus to Dublin that day. And just yeah, the final show of the season, I had David Massey there to record the show for me. Um, it was very wholesome. I had another client stepping on stage that day too for a second show of the season. It was just a nice. It was probably also the most stress free I've been. Once again, kind of going in with no expectations. I did two shows previous to that where I did really well. I was already satisfied and happy with how the season went. It was more so, yeah, that was probably NBFI was probably the most stress free show as well. Like even going up the night before with my cousin and his girlfriend staying at the hotel. I remember just actually we were chilling down at the bar just watching a football match, and it felt so weird because it was like the first time I could like chill out and breathe and I didn't have anything to worry about. And yeah, it was the most stress free I've been of after those 24 weeks of prep. It's like not a care in the world. I'm here,
Mm.
the vibes are good. I'm ready, and yeah, seeing the physique the night before change and absolutely dry out, and seeing everything kind of come true now, my mind was just at ease, and then
Yeah,
having everyone, a lot of a big crowd of supporters at the NBFI show, and then the classic win and the overall and the pro cards, then the cherry on top was. Yeah, the icing on the cake. Everything just landed perfectly that day. So that was by far the best, my favorite show of the season.
yeah, bit of a fairy tale end there for the last one, all right.
Yeah,
Um, I guess,
crazy. Like I didn't even like once again didn't expect the pro card there at NBFI because they haven't. I
yeah,
once again I didn't
first
know
time.
they give out pro cards there. So that was a nice surprise, I guess. But yeah.
I guess like I know you were kind of thinking about doing like some Europeans. How come you decided to pull the plug and out? It was just a little bit too much to continue to prep.
Yeah, it was a long enough prep already. What, like 6 months on prep? I got after NBFI, I got invited to that NBW show as well, which looked
Hmm.
wicked.
Yeah,
They were saying like they'll pay for the registration and flights and so on. At the end of the day, I was craving normality. I know it was only an extra week for that NBW show, and maybe a couple of weeks for the Europeans. But I was just so done, and it showed me that once again I'm not a bodybuilder. I was at that stage I was craving normal life, and it was prep at that stage was just affecting people around me.
mm,
As much as I did everything in my power to control everything, like, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't a case of me being snappy because I was hungry or anything like that. I once again didn't let my hunger or anything take it out negatively on my parents or my girlfriend or anything like that. It was more so that I was sick of not being myself. Because at the end of the day, you lose your personality, right? I can't remember the last time I laughed or I
Yeah.
smiled on prep. It takes out massively on the people around you, um, to the point where like I seen it impacted my girlfriend Emma too, because her energy was down and her mood was low, and I was no crack to be around. She didn't almost like want to hang out with me because I was just not myself. Like that's not the real Niko, and it was me
Mhm.
craving my being my normal self again, and I'm just looking forward to getting back to that, to having my own personality back to, because prep Niko isn't the real Niko, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just me not being a bodybuilder. I know that I'm not a bodybuilder. I lock in for prep, whatever. But outside of that, I don't meal prep. I never had a proper bulk outside of a like a structured bulk or anything like that. I eat whatever. If I eat this much calories one day, I make sure I kind of stay on top of my protein intake, eat 80% clean, eat 20%, whatever I want,
Mhm.
that kind of way. But during a bulk, when I'm not on prep, I don't bring lunch boxes into cafes or restaurants with me. I'm not a bodybuilder in the off season, let's say, you know? And that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
stopped me going to the Europeans. I just craved normality and I want to get my life back.
Now, I think once you are no longer enjoying the experience of prep or doing shows, what's the point continuing? You know, again, we don't earn anything from it. Like we don't get money for for the
Yeah,
bodybuilder. Even
yeah, for
having
the
one
sake.
pro card there, you winning money is gonna be, you know, you're gonna cover your flights and accommodation to shows that you win money too. You know, so it's like
Exactly.
just take away other things in life that are precious to us. You know, time with friends, family. You know, kind of take away from life overall. There's absolutely nothing forcing us to continue doing it, you know? So I think that's a really, really important thing for anybody out there who's listening, who wants to do bodybuilder prep, to hear, right? Don't let bodybuilding be at the expense of other things in life which actually matter.
Yeah, as I said, there's more things to life in bodybuilding, and you can get so easily consumed by it as well. As I said, it sucks you right in, where you think bodybuilding is the best thing in the world, and your next thing you're thinking about going to the Olympia and doing bodybuilding for the rest of your life. And then the show post show blues hit you, and you're like, what I did there was disgusting. I never want to bodybuilding again. I'm switching to high rocks, you know. It's like those two extremes there.
So tell me now, post show, I guess, like how have has things been in like on the physical side? Like, so like have you gained much body weight since show? Like, have you kind of noticed any kind of dip down and like maybe some of the hunger symptoms or?
Yeah,
or-
so yeah, post show is by far the most difficult period, and anyone will tell you that, right? The loss of identity, that goal to work towards, like realistically, post show is like continuation of prep, and I knew what to expect as well, and I knew how to behave, and even from the last time, the last time I did my shows, post shows, the most difficult period. I thought I knew what to expect, but I don't think you can fully ever prepare yourself for the shitstorm that comes post show. Um, I handled this post show much better, definitely. I think what helped me with that as well, you could say it's a blessing and a curse, with me being so meticulous with the plant throughout prep, and only, let's say, eating my chicken, my beef, and protein as whey isolate as my protein source, and then let's say rice, cream of rice, potatoes, and eating like the exact same fruits, the exact same veggies. Now that I'm slowly introducing or throwing anything else into me, it's like it causes a lot of digestive stress and bloating,
Mm.
because my body has been used to eating the exact same foods for so long. So that has helped control any sort of, you could say, binging or going in on foods. Even with that, I went out for my post show meal. I think it was a week after actually stepping off stage. I think that actually very beneficial, like pushing out that first for your first off plan meal after stepping off stage until a week after. That can massively help. I obviously have had a photo shoot 3 days after after the show, which helped keep things under control, and then had that off-plan meal a week after. But yeah, what I think helped massively is, well, you could say, as I said, blessing or curse. Like eating the same foods to the point where I can't have anything too dirty or anything out of the ordinary because my stomach just flares up. I'm
Mm.
what, 3.5 weeks post show now, and I'm 4 kg up
Okay.
from my stage weight. Um, Feeling ever so slightly better. Training performance still isn't there. Motivation isn't there. Sleep, I'm actually waking up. Sleep was fine all prep, and now that food is going in, I'm waking up earlier. My stomach crumbling, telling me it's time to eat. Food focus is obviously higher. The typical post show stuff. You feeling lost mentally, not having that drive, that goal that got you out of bed in the morning, got you
Mm.
through cardio sessions, through low food. It's by far the most difficult part. I'm sure you'd agree as well. Like the initial couple of weeks, and it's frustrating because it's, yeah, I want to get back to full health as quickly as I can now, but if I fuck this up, I'll fuck myself up. It's a massive head mess, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
There's
that.
no. It doesn't really feel like you have like defined targets, which I
Yeah,
think can be a little bit kind of challenging. Whereas
yeah,
like your target and goal is so defined for prep, whereas like now it's like
yeah. It's like what now, And it's
what's
like
the
you just
destination?
yeah, and it's more so for me, it's like I can enjoy life now because I'm not on prep, but I also need to watch what I'm doing here because I know how much of a head mess it can be, even like hopping on the scales and seeing a scale weight jump from having an off-plan meal, and then you're like, oh God, I'm gaining weight too quickly, but then the weight dropping back down, you're like, okay, we're all good. And it's, yeah, it's more so, once again, mentally fatiguing, and mentally draining more so than physically. And yeah, one thing I probably struggled with more um post show this time is being attached to that shredded look, seeing the glute lines disappear and stuff like that. But you're like, you can't live like this. You can't be going into bed and feeling uncomfortable in bed because you have no body fat on your glutes. Like, that we got to that point where it was uncomfortable to sit on my comfortable bed. But yeah, just being attached to that look and being attached to the shreds, as they say, that's been the biggest challenge for me this time around. Last time around, I couldn't really care. I gained like 5 kg in two weeks after the show, which isn't bad. But I very much didn't care about post show the last time. And now this time I'm so focused on reversing it properly and maintaining this lean look, but still
Mm.
feeling shit, and it's back and forward.
Yeah, I think it's a it's kind of an interesting one to hear different people's perspectives on, because like some people are of the opinion that like you should go about it like a lot more carefully and slower, and then like you'll have people who will say give your body what it needs, like get rid of the food focus, get rid of all that shit as you feel it's needed. When I did my post show with 3DMJ, essentially the advice my coach gave me is they want you within the first 4 to 6 weeks to be 10 to 15% above your stage weight. There's no like set like rate of gain per week, and even with that, he kind of gave me a calorie target and a protein target, but it wasn't necessarily something that was like you have to hit this to the ground within a certain degree of variance. What
Hmm.
happened was I ended up going from my stage weight was like 78 kilos, and that was like at the end of November, and I was up to 89 to 90 by the end of January. So you say maybe 6 to 8 weeks, we put on about 12 kilos.
Hmm.
But it felt like I felt fine through the process because I was, how to say, I felt like the food focus and everything went away very quickly. And
Okay.
because naturally enough Christmas, that wasn't attached as such to the shreds because we're jumpers and shit like that.
Yeah.
But one thing I definitely did think it helped me with was I got back to training perform like regular training performance really well, like very quickly. I think within that like 10 weeks post show, I was back to hitting 5% off my best ever numbers in powerlifting.
Nice.
So I was really surprised at that. because I was kind of similar coming out of prep. I didn't necessarily want to lose the shreds, but I definitely want to get back to eating, and I want to get back to like training hard.
Yeah.
And I guess like again, I don't really think there's a right or wrong for if you go about it slow or if you go about it fast. I think it's just a case of what you need to do to recover and kind of set yourself up for success. Because from a natural perspective, because we typically have such long time between shows, you've 2-3 years between shows. If you go a bit faster now, or if we go a bit faster now, it's not going to ruin our off season the same way it's going to ruin somebody who's assisted and they are competing year after year, right? That for that person, yeah, could ruin their off season because they're going to have to prep again in a few months' time. Whereas
Yeah.
these like every 2-3 years or so.
I know, I agree with you 100%. And it's once again, this is a different approach I took this time around. I remember even saying to Tim, I was like, I have no interest on going off plan. I want to make the most of this result since my body's so sensitive and
Mhm.
so good at uptaking all the food. But at the same time, it's like a continuation of prep and taking things slow. And I was like, I don't want to be in prep anymore, but I want to make the most out of it. Yeah, that being said, like performance for in training isn't still at its best. We are slowly getting there. But yeah, it's very much nothing's quite enjoyable at the moment just yet. So yeah, hopefully I think once I see kind of scale weight hovering around 80, 81 kg even, that's when I kind of get a little bit of an oomph back. Like I had an off plan meal at the weekend and scale weight jumped up and I went in and trained that day and it's like fuck. Like that's that kind of a push where the last couple of reps I could still grind them out and it not felt like I was lifting the world or anything like that. It felt good, you know. So even like pushing things up, having fats a little bit higher, get the hormones back in place. So that's when I actually feel when I felt good when the weight has kind of jumped up to 81, feeling actually a little bit more human, more spring to my step and so on, and training actually like being feeling enjoyable because obviously the last 6 weeks it was more so kind of like pump sessions in between shows and yeah, a couple of good sessions here and there, but it's, you know yourself what training towards the back end of prep is like.
Yeah, especially with all the peak weeks.
Yeah,
It can be very, very boring. You don't really feel
yeah.
like you're doing anything. Have you gotten your bloods done?
Not yet. I think we hold off. Tim was kind of saying 6 weeks after the show,
Yeah.
which would be interesting. For my OCD, once again, I bought all the health subs straight after. Your Todcast, snacks, glutathione, all the health subs in the world, even the
Yeah.
food from a food standpoint, I started getting some like more quality food, as I said, even throwing in a little bit of salmon, throwing in like good quality veg, having some steak. Um, that's what I've actually been craving post prep as well, just like a variety of food, where that's beetroot
Mm.
or as sad as it sounds, like spinach, like good healthy meals, you know,
Yeah.
in my diet. Bone broth, like I've been having that every day, and I've now it's like went from obsessing to being meticulous on prep. It's like obsessing to being meticulous post show and like reversing, getting the body as healthy as quickly as I can.
Mm.
So that's been the main focus, and it'll take time. It's a conversation I've had with one of the lads. I was like, look, I want to get back to full health as quickly as possible. I was like, you have to understand it took you X amount of weeks to get to this point. It's now going to take you an X amount of weeks to get back to normal again. You know, it won't happen overnight.
Yeah. It's not meant to be a quick process. Like ultimately,
No.
then the when the body fat comes on slowly, and then you start to see the likes of the kind of inner levels, thyroid, testosterone, all these levels start to restore, and then even just from the psychological point of view, you having the drive towards working towards something you've spent again 6 months plus working towards something fairly intensely. So it's only natural to have a little bit of a almost like the death of the goal, and you're kind of mourning the goal
Yeah, yeah,
before you move on to the
absolutely,
next
man.
one.
100%.
So I guess like probably not much point asking like what your kind of plans are right now in terms of the future, because you have to get through this immediate goal first and foremost. But have you even thought about like what you're gonna do next in regards to competing?
Yes and no. As I said, this prep was super, super challenging. I know what I need to do. Like now that I'll be competing in the pro leagues, I know I'm not deluded. I know I need more muscle everywhere, but especially if I want to be competitive now in the pro leagues, just especially the posterior. For now, the goal is to go back to being my normal self and enjoying a little bit of life. I won't be competing anytime soon, like definitely not for another 2 or 3 years. Once again, I'm not in a rush anywhere. I enjoy the process of just training, eating good food, hanging out with friends, date nights with my girlfriend. The main focus for me now is just to get that little bit of normality back, grow my business, and do life outside of a bodybuilding prep. The next time I step on stage will probably be 2, 3 years down the line. Who knows? I'll take it as it comes, really. But no, in terms of getting back, I'm not in a rush anytime soon.
Yeah, no point in rushing back, really, is there? Like, I mean, you've got plenty of time to focus on growing, as you kind of started off the podcast with. The process is the rewarding part, and you'll get back up to the pro stage when you've made the change that you feel are needed.
Yeah, and the stage isn't going anywhere, right? The stage will
No,
always be there.
be 5 years by the time I get back up on stage.
What's
So
what's
hopefully it's
your
not going
goals?
anywhere. Sorry?
What's your goals? Are you planning on stepping on stage anytime soon? I think next year, is it?
No, 2027 is when I'm going to compete again.
2027. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll get married next year, and I have one of my best friends is getting married as well, like in like July. So I don't want to commit to a prep and kind of miss that stuff. I certainly don't want to miss my own wedding, but
Yeah, no, you
um,
couldn't.
all that stuff is really really important to me, which is why I've kind of taken such a long period of time away from competing myself too. Is again, I understand that the bodybuilding stage is not going anywhere. I'm like yourself. I do because I love the process of it, and when the time is right, I'll get back up there. But 2027, I'm pretty sure I
Nice.
know that nobody's getting married around then. So I can't.
Nice, nice. And Age is taking over the reins with you now, right?
Yeah, AJ is in control, so I'm excited to see what it's going to look like to get prepped by him, because the first time I was working with Team 3DMJ, who I guess were kind of like pioneers in like the natural bodybuilding space, and AJ is of like the kind of new school of coaches, and
Hmm.
Emma got prepped by AJ in 2022 when she did her prep too. So look, it's going to be fun. I am very much looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. Like, I think the diet this year definitely kind of gave me like the okay, I can kind of see what's
Yeah,
there. Kind of see the improvements
yeah,
that were made.
yeah.
So with another a year or so of building, I think it'd be fun.
Should be very exciting, yeah, man. For sure, for sure.
Anyway, Nico, look, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat to me today. Is there any like words of wisdom that you'd like to leave people with? Any like people who are maybe kind of hoping to hop on stage in like the next year, that you can impart on?
Uh, do it for the right reasons, I guess. Once again, when prep gets tough, likes on Instagram won't be enough to get you through it. Make sure you just enjoy yourself. And once again, it's something I've seen on social media. These guys hopping into their first competitive season and they're on about overalls and I'm taking that PCA sword. Just enjoy it, man. Like do it for the right reason and just enjoy it. Like yeah, that's pretty much the best bit of advice I could give you. Enjoy it, enjoy the whole process. That's the most fun part because when it's all done, uh the show days there you're up on stage for 5 minutes, right? It's
Mm.
you're working your ass off for an X amount of weeks, months, whatever that may be. Make sure you enjoy it and soak it all in because it's yeah, it's bodybuilding, you could say it's disgusting, but it's like beautiful at the same time. Like why people ask why do you put yourself through this? Why do you starve yourself and literally beat your body up? And at the end of the day, I don't really know why. It's yeah, it's grueling, but at the same time we love it too.
Mm.
And it's so hard to explain. But yeah, as I was saying, just make sure you enjoy the whole process. That's the best bit of advice I could give you.
Great message, and something that a lot of people need to hear. Again, going back to the intrinsic versus extrinsic, and kind of doing it for the process, doing it for just for the love of it. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
If you did enjoy the podcasts, people at home, do make sure to go over, and I'm going to leave all of Niko's stuff in the description for you to go follow him. If you did enjoy the podcast, do make sure to give it a rating review at the podcast platform that you're listening on. Other than that, we will catch you in the next one.